Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. During this episode, there's a part where you have Jack, Jennifer, Julie, and Doug. And, they're all sad and stuff like that. Julie tries her best to cheer people up, make some breakfast and stuff. And, Gwen gets brought up. And here's the thing about this scene. Julie was absolutely right. She was like, well, yeah, we get it. Gwen had a bad childhood. But you know what? Everyone had a bad childhood. That doesn't absolve her of pretty much being a psychopath and a sociopath. Now, Jennifer was like, I don't really want to sit there and do the whole argument and yelling and whose fault it is. And, granted, it was probably not exactly the best time for that particular rant. But you know what? She made a damn good point. Her bad childhood or whatever, it doesn't excuse her for everything that she did. And when you watch the scene with Gwen and she's on a tablet or whatever reading a news article. And, Jake comes over and she seems like she's more... See, this is kind of my issue with Gwen, which is like, it's really hard for me to feel sorry for her because she doesn't give a damn about, she's not remorseful at all. She's more concerned about her, as far as going to jail, getting her name smeared in the paper. She's more concerned with that than any sort of empathy or remorse. She's sitting there talking to herself and she's all like, oh, well, boo-hoo, your loss or whatever. I grew up at least you had a grandmother. And I'm like, wow, lady. Wow. I was like, honestly, tell you the truth, if there was any sort of sympathy that I can possibly muster up for you, you just evaporated it right then and there. Now, at some point, Jake sees Gwen, and he pretty much just lays into her, He's like, you did a bunch of terrible things, and you're scared now. You're scared that for the first time, you may actually have to pay for what you did, You wrecked Abigail. You really hurt her. Of course, Gwen being Gwen is just an immature little child than anything else. Well, Gwen had this, and Gwen has you, and Gwen has so many people. Not Gwen. Abigail has this, and Abigail has that, and, Abigail has so many people sitting there. You two can arm wrestle to sit there and see who can dry her tears or whatever. I was like, wow, lady. Just wow. Wow. At some point, even Jake was like, listen, you could have grew up in a mansion. You still would be the person that you are, which is trash. Now, I don't personally think she would have been trash, but part of me is kind of torn about that. Part of me is kind of torn about that because, and I was sitting there saying this yesterday in my Bold and the Beautiful review. No one knows how we would have turned out. Different choices, different upbringings, different things that happen in our lives. So, maybe if Abigail grew up with, maybe if Gwen grew up with Jack as a father, she might have been different. There's a good possibility she may not even be this version, this vile sociopath that we see. But, then again, she still might have turned out to be that way. So, I don't know. I'm kind of torn about that. But, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter because Gwen just doesn't give a damn about anyone else except for herself. And she's made that abundantly clear more than once. Hell, she actually went to Laura's gravestone. Abigail was there. And Abigail was, she was looking over the gravestone, sad and everything like that, just talking. And Gwen just shows up. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So the person that's responsible for her being in the ground just shows up. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, are you serious? I, wow. Now, I'm kind of going all over the place, but it'll make sense. Let's talk about Chad for a minute. Now, here's the thing about Chad. You've been watching my reviews for a while. You know how I feel about Chad. If you don't, Chad's a dick. But here's the thing about Chad in this scene and probably a couple other scenes or whatever. I gotta give credit where credit's due. I gotta give Chad points. I do. Because he was there for Abby. You know, he listened. He was patient. You know, even at the grave, you know, at the cemetery. You know, he didn't sit there and try to push for them to get back together right away. He was just there being someone to talk to, somebody to listen to, somebody to lean on. He seems like he's giving her time and her space. And just being patient, and, you know, if she comes around, that's cool. If not, then he just has to live with it. He doesn't try to kiss her or anything like that. He just looks at her, gives her a space, and walks off. So for that, I gotta give him credit. As hard as and that's the thing that I want people to sit there and understand. That's the thing I want people to understand about my reviews. There may be times I may go hard on a particular character that you like. And I don't do this to offend anyone. This is just my opinion. But at the same time, I will be fair. And despite my feelings towards any numerous amount of characters, like them or not, I will give credit where credit's due. And in this scene, I will give Chad the credit that he deserves. Kate and Jake also show up. And, you know, they offer their condolences and stuff like that. And, you know what I didn't know? And I know this is kind of silly for most people. But I didn't know that Philip's mom was Kate. I didn't know that until today. Now, speaking of Philip. Gabby walks in and Gabby is just revved up. She's ready to go. She's on fire. She's like, I got some new plans and stuff like that. And lo and behold, it's Philip. Philip's like, yeah, so just to let you know, Xander isn't here anymore. So you be dealing with me. And Gabby is like, well, you know, I got a great business proposal. And Xander think, you know, it's an excellent idea. And Philip is like, oh, so he thinks it's a great idea? So that means it's trash. Cool. Alright, so I'm not even going to sit there and bother to I mean, anything he thinks is a great idea must be trash. So, you know, Gabby is sitting there trying to push for this deal and stuff like that. Talks about she needs it and everything like that. Kate walks in. Now, Kate, you know, needs a little more time to decide if she wants to work with, Jake. Or she wants to stay being the assistant to Abe. Now, I gotta sit there and say, from a story point of view, it would be really interesting to have Kate work with Jake. You know, with the whole Damaros and, you know, like that. Because, I don't know, the stuff that she does with Abe, I'm sure it's important, but we don't really get to see that too often. I mean, I like their relationship, their friendship that they have, but other than that, you don't really get to see what she's doing. And it'll be nice for Kate to actually be working with Jake, being kind of more, you know, in control and not just, oh, I'm not just going to sit there and give him pointers and stuff like that. I'm going to be his equal as opposed to being somebody's assistant. So, I think it's a good idea. Now, Kate does come in there and she sees Gabby and Philip and, you know, they talk for a little bit and, you know, Gabby being Gabby just pretty much start throwing stuff in her face. oh, well, you don't want me to sit there and work for Jake because, he still wants me, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, wow. Sweetheart, the ego on you is impressive. Just, they go back and forth, back and forth. Even Kate, and to be fair, Kate was like, listen, it was a good proposal. Like, when she was talking to Jake, she was like, did you turn down her proposal because you thought it was a bad idea? Or did you do it for me? I think she would have been okay. Well, I don't know how okay she would have been, but I don't know. I guess she kind of looked at it like maybe like him turning down Gabby's proposal wasn't exactly a good idea. But that's just my guess on it. Anyway, Philip was like, listen, he even says to Kate, like, listen, I'm thinking about working with Gabby, whatever. I'll look over the proposal and see what works. And, Gabby being Gabby just couldn't help herself. Well, don't take too long because, I'm a hot commodity or something that she says. And she walks off in her usual Gabby flair. What else? After the service, because I'm assuming that they just kind of skipped the whole funeral or whatever. I mean, they skipped the funeral scene. But after the service, that's when Jennifer is like, she's going to be, I guess, talking to her dad. Like, she's going to be going away from Salem for a little bit to deal with Laura's estate and stuff like that. And I guess, when this character comes back, it's going to be played by a new actress, which is, how many Jennifers did they actually go through so far? Because I'm kind of curious. It's really sad. When this Jennifer came in, I was somewhat used to the other Jennifer. I really was. So, I was like, here's the thing about Jack and Jennifer. The way that they work, and this is just my interpretation, that they have a very, I don't want to sit there and say cringe, but like, their personalities, the way that they operate, like how they are as a couple, their energy, the way that they bounce off each other, their personalities just work. They complement each other. And I didn't think that was going to actually happen with the new Jennifer, and it did. And now I'm starting to worry again because, they're going to be changing actresses again. And I'm just wondering, that hokey pokey, I don't know, it's somewhere between like a 90s sitcom kind of family. I can't describe it, but their personalities just work towards each other. And I'm just worried about when the new Jennifer is going to come in. Is she going to be able to play off of Jack the way the other two did? I know I'm not describing it right, but they just have I don't know. I can't really describe their personalities. If I think of something in the next review, then I will say it, but they just have a way of playing off their personalities. And I don't know if it's going to work, but hopefully it will. Now, yeah, Laura's gone. And, here's the thing about this whole Laura death and everything like that. Like, she did make a really bad decision. And it was out of selfishness. You could sit there and say, it was to protect her daughter. Yeah, that's true, but it came at a very selfish cost. And to be honest, she even admitted, she didn't care what it would do to Gwen and Gwen's mother. That didn't matter. That was secondary. But I guess my question is, does one bad choice define someone's life? I don't know what this character was like before. So I don't know the ups and downs of his character. But when I seen his character, the only thing that I know of is that she made a really bad choice. There was a lot of people who loved her, and she did a lot of good things for people. So, I don't know. I guess that's maybe the question of the day. Now the last scene I'm going to talk about is Xander and Sarah. And, Sarah asked Xander a question of, did he regret his decision to not just leave Titan, but somewhat the family a little bit? Like, he moved out, he's not working at Titan, is whatever. And Xander pretty much like, you know what, I'm excited for the future. Long story short, Xander proposed to Sarah, but Sarah also proposed to Xander. So they're engaged now. What else? I feel like I'm missing some stuff. Yeah, so yeah, they proposed to each other and now they're engaged. I think that's about it. I don't think I really left anything out. If I did, write it in the comment section below. And that's pretty much about it. Thank you for watching. Be safe. I will catch everyone in the next review.